Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another backport session of English Lessons with Brian. Today we're going to be doing Lesson E in Unit 9, which means we have come to the end of Unit 9, and we have just one more unit in our book, and I plan to keep making videos through Unit 10, and then when we're finished with Unit 10, we'll be done for the semester. I do want to mention that I am working on a special video for tomorrow, so be sure to check back tomorrow for a very special video. But let's dive in to Lesson E in Unit 9 on page 118 and 119. And while you are getting there, turning there in your books, let me pull it up on the screen for us so that we can all follow along together. So go ahead, get out your books, pull them open, and we will be looking at it together on my screen. Throughout this unit, we've been talking about environmental problems, and we've also been talking about cause and effect. And so today, we're going to put those two ideas together, environmental problems and cause and effect, and we're going to think about how to write a paragraph talking about cause and effect with environmental problems. But before we start to write, let's look at our questions at the top of page 117. Section 1, it says, before you write, part A, talk with a partner, look at the picture, answer the questions. So it's on the top right corner of my screen, in the top right corner of your book. You'll see a picture, and you see clouds coming out of what looks like a factory. You see the tall smokestack and other things and lots of wires. It's some kind of factory where they make stuff. And those clouds we call smog. We actually call, well, it's exhaust. It's not clouds like in the sky. It's exhaust from the factory. And well, let's look at question 1 to help us focus it. What is the environmental problem in this photo? And that would be air pollution. So what makes this cloud different from the clouds you normally see in the sky is what makes these clouds. So the normal clouds you see every day, are usually just water particles. Here, because these clouds are made from the production of something, the making of something in the factory, whatever they make in the factory, the chemicals, that the materials that go into making that product, when the exhaust is let out, the smoke is let out, those particles are in the clouds too. And those chemicals, those particles, that material is not good for the environment, and so it causes air pollution. And so question number 2, why is it a problem? In parentheses it has causes, and I'm not sure I like the phrasing of this question. I know what they're doing. In previous lessons and lessons before this, we talked about asking the question why in order to get the cause. But the way that this question is worded, it makes you think of the effects. Like, why? What does air pollution do to you? But if you're asking about what causes air pollution, factories like this, burning, the fire burning materials or whatever, or when we burn coal in electric plants and other type of factories that produces carbon dioxide and other chemicals. And so it enters the atmosphere, the air around us. It affects the the shield or the bubble around our Earth called the ozone, and um, it can affect that. Um, it can cause acid rain, so the chemicals get into the rain particles, and it creates, and the acid that comes through the smoke, through the pollution, comes into the rain, and it can be very dangerous, and it can cause the rain to kind of burn things, burn plants, maybe damage your car and whatnot. Um, so number 2 and number 3, again, I don't like the way that they're worded, but number 3, how does this problem hurt people and the environment? It creates acid rain, like I said, that damages plants and houses and cars and things like that. It makes the air hard to breathe. Many years ago, I lived in Salt Lake City, and in Salt Lake City, it's in a kind of a bowl. So if you think like a bowl in your kitchen, so it's at the bottom. So there's sides to it, and the city is down below, and there's mountains on 3 sides. And so, and there's factories like on the northwest side, and it would, because it's in this bowl in the winter, the air would trap all the pollution, all the bad air, and it would just sit in the city. And on certain winter days, you cannot see the mountains because there's so much bad air in the city. And so it made it hard to breathe. It made it hard for people to breathe. I had a friend who always had this cough because of the bad air in the city. So it makes it hard for people to breathe. And it's bad for our ozone, that protective shield, that bubble around the Earth, because then that bubble protects us from the sun. But if the gases are, sometimes they eat or destroy that bubble, and it lets in harmful things from the sun. And also there's this, you hear on the news, climate change, all this air, bad air, this smoke, this pollution is getting into the air, and it's blocking the sun, and it's causing the Earth to heat up. It's not allowing the Earth to warm and cool itself as it normally does. And so that is a reason why those are some of the effects of air pollution. And again, the way that 2 and 3 are asked, it's a little, they're kind of asking the same thing. But if you think about causes and effects, causes are plants or factories like this in the picture, or cars, or people burning things, like burning large areas of trees can also cause air pollution. Those are causes. The effects are things like bad air quality, changing the climate, also acid rain, potentially making it hard for people to breathe. So those are some of the effects. Okay, so here, in talking about that photo, is one example, and now we're going to read the paragraph together, and we're going to learn about another problem, and actually we're going to talk more about something similar to the picture. It's going to give you more ideas and details around the picture, and make that idea bigger. Before we read together, I want you to read first silently, and then we'll come back and I'll read it, and then we'll talk about the next section. So go ahead and pause the video now and read, and then come back and push play again when you have read the video. So pause now. All right, welcome back. If there's an awkward silence because I was letting you pause and read. The title of our paragraph is The Causes and Effects of Smog. Smog is another, smog is a name for the dirty air we see. A lot of times in big cities, it's the dirty air that we see. If you think about Los Angeles, if you go online and Google Los Angeles and smog, they'll show you pictures where you'll see the smog, and then you will see how the air has been cleaner because people haven't been driving cars as much. So smog is the dirty air because of air pollution. So this paragraph is about the causes of the dirty air and then how that dirty air affects us. Okay? All right. Give me a second, and then we will get a sip of coffee, and then I'll read. Smog is a serious environmental problem in my city. One cause is that there are too many cars on the roads and highways. Most of the cars have only one person, the driver. People seem to take a lot of unnecessary trips. They drive to the drugstore instead of walking 2 blocks. Another cause of smog in my city is that we use too much electricity. Since many homes are not energy efficient, our city's power plant has to produce more electricity. The burning coal from the power plant produces more air pollution. The smog is thick, so the air is hard to breathe. Consequently, on many days it is unsafe for children and senior citizens to be outside. Smog also kills many trees and plants that produce oxygen and clean the air. If people drove less and used less electricity, I am sure our air quality would improve. So, here's a paragraph about the causes and effects of smog. If you look in the little red box at the lower right hand of the box of our paragraph, it says one way to organize a paragraph is to discuss the causes and effects of a problem. And so that's exactly what we just read about. We read about a couple of causes, and then there are effects of the effects of those causes, and then the results. So our next assignment, to help us to understand how this paragraph is better structured, how this paragraph is organized, the different parts, we're going to look at together what the problem is, the causes, the details, and then the effects of those causes and of those causes. So our big problem, as I already told you, is smog. And if you look back in the paragraph, in the second sentence, it says one cause is that there are too many cars on the roads and highways. So first cause they give you, too many cars. And what's one detail about too many cars? Most cars only one person, or most cars only have one person. So this is the detail is not an effect. Okay, the detail is explaining more about the cause, right? Why are there too many cars, right? Because most cars only have one person. So it's not the effect yet, it's just a detail, right? And then at the end, they talk about the effects across the bottom. And they give you one effect: the air is hard to breathe. If you think about the way the paragraph is organized, they have cause and the details around that cause, the second cause, the details that tell more about that cause, and then they have the effects at the end of the paragraph. So we have one detail about the cause of too many cars. Most cars are only one person. before I give you the answers, let me stop myself. I'm just ready to go and ready to just keep on talking and discussing. But before I do that, let me go ahead and pause the video and try to, I want you first to try to pick out, identify the cause, the other cause, and the details that match that cause, and then the two other effects. So go ahead and pause now and try to complete part C on your own. All right, pause now. All right, hopefully you did pause the video and are now ready to go over this and talk about this together. So let's talk about our second detail for too many cars, and that is unnecessary trips, right? So if you look back at the paragraph, they give you the first, in the second sentence is the first cause, too many cars. The next sentence says most cars only have one person, and then the next sentence says they take a lot of unnecessary trips. Unnecessary means you do not have to do that. It's not required. Trips that are not required, right? So that gives you a little more, and then actually the next sentence even gives you more detail about unnecessary trips, right? So we have our first cause, too many cars, and then two details telling us more about that cause. We're ready now to find our second cause. And our second cause is that they use too much electricity. Another cause of smog is that we use too much electricity, right? And they give, in the paragraph, they give you very clearly, they tell you another cause of smog in my city is that we use too much electricity. So you see, they tell you one cause, another cause. Very simple. They don't make you guess. They just tell you one cause is this, another cause is this. But between those two causes are a lot of details. So we talked about the cause and the details of too many cars. Let's now keep going with the second cause, that we use too much electricity. And the first detail is homes not energy efficient. In the paragraph, well, it doesn't tell you why things are not energy efficient, but if you think back to our first story with, actually forgot her name, so let me go back and find her name. May was learning about energy efficient light bulbs and energy efficient appliances like washer and dryers or dishwashers, right? So if we have older appliances or not energy efficient appliances, that makes our homes not efficient, right? So, and if they're not efficient, we're going to use more electricity. And if we use more electricity, it's going to produce more smog. What's our second detail? Power plants burn coal. So there are different ways to make electricity. In our country, for many years, we have burned coal, and when we burn coal, if you burn something, it creates smoke, right? And coal produces a lot of smoke. But nowadays, it's not the only way to produce electricity. We have solar and wind power, but I'm getting off topic. I'm getting away from the paragraph. Our second detail of the cause is that we use too much a second detail for our cause of use too much electricity is that power plants burn coal, and as in the next sentence gives us more detail about that. The burning of coal from the power plant produces more pollution. The smog is thick, so as the air is hard to breathe. If you think back to our lesson B, lesson C, when we use since and so, in the sentence where it says the smog is thick, the next part of that sentence starts with so. And when we use so, we start with effects. So we're moving into our effects. And one effect is the air is hard to breathe, which they already gave us. What is another effect? It's unsafe for children and elderly people to be outside. Elderly are people who are older. Elderly in our country, 65 is called a senior citizen. And senior, think about high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Senior is the oldest. So senior citizens are the oldest citizens of our country, and so elderly are maybe 65 and older. My mom is almost 70, so yeah, she's turning 70. I think I should check on that and be a good son. But anyway, she might say 80 or 90 is elderly, but people on the upper end of age, the higher ages would be considered elderly. What's our other effect? The smog can kill trees and plants, right? So, the way our paragraph is ordered, you can see it in the way that it is organized here. It starts at the top with what is our problem? Smog. Then it has our two causes. The first cause, it gives you the first cause and then a couple of details. And the second cause and two more details. And then across the bottom, it gives us our effects of smog. Okay? Deep breath. Because now it's going to be your turn. And you might be like, teacher, I'm not ready for that. Well, that's why we're here, and that's why we're here to practice. Here is the next page, which apparently I did not center very well. But you get the point. Here, part D, it says plan a paragraph about an environmental problem in your city or community. Includes the cause and effects of the problem, and then use the graphic organizer to make notes on your ideas. So, your job now is going to be to come up with an environmental problem, and then think about two causes of that problem, and give me a little more detail about that problem. If you look back at our picture, our paragraph from page 118, it doesn't go problem, cause, effect. It gives you the cause and explains more about that cause. So tell me more about that cause. And then second cause, tell me more about that cause. And then give me the effects, right? And you might be thinking, well, teacher, I don't know of any environmental problems. I don't, it's not what I think about all day. Well, I'm glad you asked, because I came up with a list of environmental problems for you. Our first, and this, for those of you who like to fish, trash in rivers and streams. And we'll talk through this one together. Trash in rivers and streams. Well, how did that trash get into the rivers and streams? Why is there trash in rivers and streams? Why is there trash in rivers and streams? Well, think about it. Maybe someone is out by the lake. They're going on a walk by the lake. They have a snack. They're like, I'm going to open my snack. I have trash, but I'm not finished with my walk. I just throw it on the ground, right? That's one way. That's one cause. Connected to that, another more detail around that is people throw trash out their window, right? And that trash goes, as everything in this world, what goes up must come down, so it's going to go down, and the water tends to be down, and so eventually it ends up in the water. So people throwing trash out the window in their cars, and then eventually it blows down into the river and the streams. So there's one cause: people throwing trash out, either as they're walking beside the river or the lake, or in their cars, and it ends up in the rivers and streams and lakes. A second cause would be factories putting things in the water. Their wastewater comes out and into the rivers and streams. And then, what are some of the effects? It kills the fish. The water is not safe to drink. The water is just dirty, right? So there's an example of me walking through the problem, trash in rivers and streams, the two causes: people throwing trash out the window or throwing their trash on the ground, and factories putting pollution into the water, and then several effects: kills the fish, the water's dirty, the water's not safe to drink. But that's an example for trash in rivers and streams. Here's another example: trash on the side of the road. So not all trash on the side of the road ends up in the rivers and streams, and there's lots of animals, wild animals, that maybe get into that. Think about some of the side of the effects of that on the animals, and also think about, is it very pretty? Is it nice to look at? So just some of the things, some ideas to help you think about some of the effects. Plastics in our ocean. That's another environmental problem, and it's a problem some people are working, trying to solve. Air pollution from factories. Smog. Our paragraph that we read is actually this environmental problem. So maybe not do this one, but just another example of environmental problem. Air pollution from cars and trucks. If you want to get a very small idea, those are 5 different environmental problems. Maybe you know some. Another one that I did not include is forest fires or climate change, right? Those are just some more bigger ideas that you can work with. And so, first, I want you to identify, choose a problem, think of 2 causes, give me some more detail about those causes, and then write the effects of those causes. And when you have done that problem, when you have done this little flow chart that I'm showing you, I want you to then write a paragraph using your flow chart, this chart that you filled out, this plan you filled out, and write a good paragraph. Remember, all good paragraphs start with a topic sentence, and in your topic sentence, tell me what your problem is. If you look back at the paragraph on page 118, it says, smog is a serious environmental problem in my city. That is the topic sentence, so I know that this paragraph is going to talk about smog in the city, and then it goes on to talk about the causes and then the effects of smog in the city. Okay, be sure to include 2 causes, give me some detail about those causes, and then write your effect, include your effects at the bottom. Don't just list them, but put it in the paragraph form. As always, feel free to text me a picture of your paragraph, and I can make corrections and suggestions for you. And that way we can practice our writing, and we can all become better writers. So, thanks for tuning in today. That's our lesson. If there's any questions, feel free to shoot me a text or leave a comment on our page. And until our next time, I hope you're well, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.